rigged or something?
Oh, they just completely blackballed her for years and years and years. This year, she had... So just to put into context, every single female rapper that has dropped an album this year, because they always wait for Nicki to drop first, not a single one of them has been able to surpass, I think, 80K in first week sales. Nicki Minaj did 228K, and that's after they filtered out a bunch of her sales.
All right, guys, got Xavier here today, and Trump just won. Let's go.
Yes, he did.
You've been celebrating, right?
Absolutely. It's a great day to be a Republican.
Yeah. I was a little shocked, actually.
You know, it played out the way that I kept saying it was going to, but at the same time, like, of course, I had that doubt. I'm like, what are the Democrats going to pull last minute? How powerful is the Beyonce endorsement? I just didn't know what to expect. And when he did end up winning, I literally shed a couple tears.
Yeah, it was surreal. I almost cried too, honestly. But it seems like this election is the first time I've seen celebrity endorsements backfire.
Honestly, because a lot of the people they brought up were just not credible. Like, it wasn't even smart or well thought out. It's like bringing Cardi B on stage. Cardi B, the woman who notoriously bragged about drugging and robbing men throughout her stripping career. This is who you're using to reach the Black and Hispanic votes. Like, please be so for real.
Yeah.
And then her struggling to read from her phone. Like, I'm almost convinced that costed the election for Kamala.
That was cringe. And they were spending millions on these endorsements.
They did. Because how do you start with $1 billion in funding and end $20 million in debt? It's like, if you can't handle $1 billion in a 3-month campaign, then what makes you think that you can rescue our economy?
Right.
Like, I would have taken that information to my grave if I could have.
Yeah, that's bad business. And now they're asking for more donations, I saw.
Yeah, for a recount. It's like, okay, even you think you're going to recount 7 million votes in the popular vote that's going to swing enough electoral college votes for you to win? It's like, it's just unserious.
Yeah.
It just shows how unserious their priorities are.
For real. Popular vote, she lost, right?
Got stomped out by like 7 million votes.
That's crazy because she was really heavily favored to win the popular vote.
She was, and honestly, that did shock me. Like, I expected him to potentially win the popular vote, but for him to just wipe the floor with her, oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was
but
nuts.
what it shows, if anything, is that this whole narrative of you are an outsider or you are just banished to the to the abyss if you voted for Trump. It's like, newsflash, the majority of people are siding with Trump now. People have moved over. We're over it. We're over pretending like we're all in favor of this woke BS.
Yep. Yeah, the first thing I did was watch some reactions of liberals. I went on Harry Sisson's page, Gene's page, Destiny, David Pacman. It was interesting to see their reactions.
Right, and the way that they just take no accountability for how terrible the Biden administration has been the last 4 years. It's like, how I don't understand how they can pretend to be shocked. They ran such a sloppy campaign. And if anything, if Kamala was really serious about winning, she should have just done the Katie Hobbs approach. How Katie Hobbs beat Carrie Lake over in Arizona a few years ago is by not doing any press, not doing interviews. Kamala Harris knows good and well, off a teleprompter, that woman cannot speak to a crowd and move the needle. Yeah. She should have been silent. She should have just put out her little tweets, her little brat memes. Because when we were in the honeymoon of Kamala Harris, when Biden first dropped out, I was scared. I was terrified, actually, because everybody was just so excited for it to not be Biden. And really, had she joined the race maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, even just shorten that window of time where she was the primary candidate and all the eyes were on her, I honestly think she would have taken it.
Damn. I mean, I think that was her plan at first, but she saw Trump going on so many shows and stuff. She kind of got pressured into it, right?
Yeah, she did. And, you know, I understand why she did, but she was not prepared. She did not understand the assignment. She just made herself more unlikable and more cringeworthy. It just made people trust her less, because I understand media training 101. You don't accept the premise of the question, but she does such a terrible job at that where it's so obvious that she's just not a talented politician. And Kamala Harris is the victim of being dangerously ambitious, where she shoots for the stars knowing good and well she has no business going past the clouds.
Yeah. I watched a few of her pods and I honestly wasn't impressed. I mean, they spent $1 million on Call Her Daddy. Did you see that?
Yeah. And to build like $100,000 set to use one time, like, for what?
Crazy.
For what purpose?
Yeah. If you're donating to that campaign and you see stuff like that, it must irritate you, right?
Right. And the thing is, too, it's like some of these shows and things that she was doing, she was appealing to people that were likely already going to vote for her.
Right.
This was already a demographic that was on your side. So why are you just tripling down on getting these people to try to vote for you when they were already going to? She should have tried to go into, you know, enemy territory a little bit in the same way that Trump did. But the thing is Kamala has nothing to stand on.
Right.
We saw how bad that interview was on Fox. And I think that that was her throwing herself into the lion's den. But of course, you should have expected that. You should have been prepared. And then her team was waving for them to stop asking questions because she wasn't ready for any of the questions. It's like, girl, you had one job.
Yeah, she already won the female vote. In fact, the black female vote was crazy. Did you see the stats on that?
Yeah, and I expected that.
You did?
No shade to black women, but it's like they just went with this. And the thing is, actually, I'm not even going to go there all the way about Kamala's lineage. And the more you look into her lineage, the more nothing is adding up. It's just so funny to me that black women went and flocked to this girl. It's like, at this point, with black women being as educated as they are, I really don't understand how they're so easily manipulated by this pandering that's happening, because black women are outpacing in education in so many metrics right now and dominating, and black women get bored and go get another degree these days. But honestly, I feel like the more that these people go to college and the more that they go to graduate school for these random degrees that are never going to have any influence on their actual careers, I feel like they're just getting indoctrinated more. I haven't fact checked this, but I heard recently that the rate of becoming a they/them is significantly higher when you go to graduate school.
Really?
And I'm like, what are these universities teaching people these days that's making them just absolutely lose their common sense? But the black women who are so educated and so capable of doing research without confirmation bias, it's sad to me that they're still falling for something as trivial as, oh, she's a black girl, she's got my vote. She can't relate to you. That girl is from Canada, first of all. And she's acting like she's sister girl Kamala, everybody's favorite auntie.
Collard greens in the bathtub.
That's how I knew she was lying about her lineage and her whole background. Anybody making collard greens in the bathtub deserves to be in jail. I know a lot of black people. I'm the blackest person in LA County. And never once have I heard of someone making collard greens in the bathtub. And my family is country and southern and ghetto. And never once would they even think about making collard greens in the bathtub. That's just disgusting.
Crazy.
Be so for real.
Yeah, that's nasty. Was there a lot of divide in your family, politics-wise?
Oh, there has been my whole career. Because I used to be on the left, and my family, for the most part, is still very far left. Like, my dad and I didn't speak for 2 years because of politics. When I first got red-pilled, he was just so disgusted. My eldest brother, to this day, I got red-pilled in like October 2020, started speaking out in February the next year. And to this day, my brother does not want to have conversations with me and thinks that I'm this racist, bigoted person, all because I don't support the left's ideology. So I have finally just stopped talking about politics with them. If they call me and ask me, I'm just like, do you really want to have this conversation? Because I know one thing about me, I'm going to have that conversation if you call me about it. So it's... Thanksgiving's going to be interesting this year. I'll just put it that way.
Thanksgiving's coming up. 2020, so that was his second run at it. What was a specific moment that caused you to go red pill, you think?
Well, so I was liberal my whole life. Always had this idea that I had to root my identity in my skin color. And it was because I had this identity crisis where I was born in Southside Chicago and literally 5 minutes away from O Block. If you know, you know. It's like the most dangerous neighborhood in Chicago. I spent my summers there every other weekend, but my family fled Chicago because of the crime and went to the middle of nowhere cornfields of central Illinois to a small town called Pontiac, 10,000 people, 95% white. I think we were the third black family to live there at the time with young black kids. And because of that, I had this identity crisis where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm too black for the white kids, but then I get told I'm too white when I'm around black people. So when I got to college and got to my early 20s especially, I was so adamant of I have to prove how black I am. I have to be so woke. So I was advocating online for BLM before 2020, before BLM even blew up. I was already online doing all this activism. So when I started doing all this, I actually got bored during the pandemic and I applied to be on a Netflix reality show called The Circle. Do you know
I
The
watched
Circle?
that show.
Did you?
Which season were you on?
I didn't end up going. So
okay.
I got cast. It was 25,000 people that went through the process. I still have all the emails. They were actually filming the second and third seasons back to back because it was the only logical show to film during the pandemic because you don't actually meet your contestants in person. So my whole character was I was supposed to be this woke white sorority girl named Samantha. I was going to be a catfish on the show, but I was teaching them how to become a BLM activist, why I was so woke from the perspective of a white girl.
Wow.
And getting ready for the show, I was like, well, I'm going to get into these heated conversations. I need to be able to debate. Let me go and see what conservatives are saying so that I'm ready to go back and forth with them. And I saw this video from Candace Owens that enraged me because she said that only in the black community do we take our lowest common denominator and make that the forefront of our community. And I was pissed because I'm like, not her having the audacity to be right about this. So then I'm like, oh, she works with PragerU. I know PragerU. I'm going to make a whole series debunking PragerU videos. So I wrote out all these videos, all these talking points I was going to go through and debunk one by one. And I debunked myself instead.
Whoa.
It was a mortifying process. And I think the thing that was the nail in the coffin for me was realizing that BLM was just such a sham from day one and how much fraud was behind their money. I always say that you can tell people's priorities by their spending. And to learn that they raised almost $100 million in 1 year and not a single black business, a black community, a victim of police brutality, no one had seen that money. And Breonna Taylor's mom even spoke out about it. She's like, you've raised millions of dollars on the likeness of my deceased daughter, and you won't give me $1 for even her legal fees? That blew my mind. And it got to the point in October where it was 3 days before I was supposed to fly out and film the show. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to look myself in the mirror and think that I'm a man of integrity if I go and I do this show now knowing that BLM is a scam. And with that whole ripple effect of trying to debunk PragerU, I realized I was getting red pilled on probably 80% of things. And I took a few months. I was just like, I need to keep doing research, and I'm going to start speaking out about what I learned.
Wow. Good choice you made not going on that show, I think.
Yeah, in retrospect, it was for sure, because like it had a happy ending. It's like, here I am on the Digital Social Hour. Yeah. It's like it worked out well, but in the beginning, it was terrifying. I was literally losing my mind because I'm like, the entire narrative that I had been indoctrinated with my entire life, the entire thing that I was rooting my identity in, being this black social justice warrior activist, it was all a scam. It was all a facade, and I had no idea. And it made me just think, am I that stupid? But really, it's like I had to give myself some grace in retrospect. It's like, no, I was just misinformed. I was misled. I was truly indoctrinated with this ideology from day one.
BLM got me, man. I donated.
It got a lot of us because they're so talented with linguistics. They're so talented with how they selectively choose their rhetoric. Even just look at the slogan of Black Lives Matter. Oh, you don't agree with Black Lives Matter, so you don't think that Black Lives matter? You don't think that this person dying is a bad thing? How dare you? You're a racist. You're a bigot, yada, yada, yada. They're good at doing that. They're good at calling you a baby killer, or not a baby killer, ironically, they're calling you a grandma killer and all that stuff with the vaccine mandates and all of that. So it's like they are very selective in how they insult you because they want you to fall in line.
Right.
And they want to fearmonger against you. And as a black person, I've realized that the Achilles heel of the black community for so long has been fear. The weaponization of fear of racism, fear of oppression, fear of the police, all of that is used to keep us in this ideology that we have to align with whatever the left tells us to.
Right.
So when BLM came out, it's like, of course we're all standing behind. It's like, to this day, I'll say like George Floyd, even though there's definitely other factors that were involved in his death that nobody wants to talk about, but it was not justified for him to die. It is unfortunate that he died. But that being said, that's not enough reason to go and loot and riot and destroy communities and create this whole narrative that our country is systemically racist. That doesn't even make sense, because if there are any two things that everyone in America that's sane hates, it's a racist and a rapist. Those are the two things that every single person hates. So if we're a systemically racist country, then why does everybody hate racist? That doesn't even make sense. Just fundamentally.
Yeah, the race card gets played a lot, right?
It sure does.
You probably get sick of it.
I wish I had more time to still use it. Being black in America is a very easy life when you can use that race card.
I feel like it's a low IQ argument when someone pulls that out.
It is, because it's like, can you come up with something else? It's like, is there any stat? Is there any study? Is there anything to actually prove what you're saying to me besides I've been black for all this time? It's like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
What's next?
No, it doesn't make sense. People were racist to me growing up, but I'm never going to like pull that out of my bag and use that in an argument.
Right. What's your ethnicity?
I'm Asian, so they were racist to me for that. I'm also half white, but I looked super Asian growing up. I had squinty eyes and everything. So
I'm 2% Chinese, so I'm right there with you.
Let's go.
I take pride in my 2% Chinese.
I love it, man. We got to get you out to China.
I'm down.
That'd be cool.
I don't know. I talk a lot of smack about the communism. They might lock me up.
That's why I'm scared to go to Russia too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'd go.
Yeah, Putin will personally have beef with you.
Yeah. Tucker pulled it off, but I don't think many people can just pull up there and be safe.
Right. It's like, what's that security budget going to look like?
Crazy. Yeah, that movement was nuts. So you recently had a new documentary about all the crimes, right?
I did. It's called Their Lives Mattered, The Forgotten Victims of Crime in America. And so how that whole documentary came about is right before I started at PragerU in February of 2023. I almost forgot what year it was now. Chow, it's been such a long year. But when I was starting at PragerU, a video I made right before I started was about black on black crime and how people are so focused on BLM and all these different narratives that they do not talk about the actual situations that are happening in black communities. And there was this story I found of this young black teenager who was shot and killed at a bus stop, and nobody was talking about it in the media. And I found it just like doing some obscure data research. And I was like, this is so sad. Like, why is this not happening? And then knowing that a year before, a distant family member of mine died in a very similar fashion, except she was getting into an Uber and got shot and killed for literally no reason, had nothing to do with her. And just no justice, no outcry, anything like that. But as I was researching about this situation so I can make the video about it, I started noticing that some of the details didn't align. And then it dawned on me, I was confusing two different situations where two different black teenagers within the same week were shot and killed at bus stops. So I'm like, how often is this happening that these young kids are at a bus stop or getting in a car or going to school and getting shot and killed by other black people in the community? So I made the video with that tone in mind, and shout out to Marissa Strice. She's the CEO of PragerU. She saw that video and she called me into her office and she was like, we need to talk about this. And I'm like, did I say something wrong? She goes, what can we do about this? She goes, this is actually so heartbreaking to me. And that's where we came up with the idea of Their Lives Mattered, where we wanted to sit down with the parents whose children have been shot and killed. We wanted to sit down with experts to figure out why this is happening. And the information that we uncovered was just so heartbreaking because sitting down with Happy Gregg, she's a mother whose 4-year-old son was getting his hair cut. She went to grab snacks from the car. A drive-by happened from some gang member, and the only person who was shot was her 4-year-old son. So you can only imagine the visual she walked in and saw. And something she said that really stuck with me is that she thought that there would be absolute outrage, and there wasn't. So she realized that she had to be the outrage. So she stepped up in her community in Chicago and started bringing awareness to that. And what she was told is that so many people are not going to have outrage because they view you as just a number. They're like, pick a number, get in line. Kids are dying in Chicago all the time. And she was like, what? How did I not know this? And this is my city. And so many people are unaware because the media doesn't talk about it enough because it doesn't fit a narrative. So then I started learning just all the different progressive policies that are going on. Yes, the presidential race is extremely important, but if you're passionate about crime in your community, my first question to you is, who is your DA? So many people don't even know who their district attorney is. And these district attorneys are the ones putting forth these policies that are making cities like Chicago and Philadelphia, Baltimore, etc., a criminal safe haven. It's a paradise for criminals where they're eliminating cash bail. Already at least 5 different states and more considering it have gotten rid of cash bail.
Wow.
So literally all it takes is your homegirl to come pick you up from prison, or not even prison, from jail, after you just got arrested for shooting and killing somebody, and odds are you're just going to get a slap on the hand and keep going about your business. They also are trying to get rid of the 3 strikes rule or not enforcing it so people can commit crime over and over. It's like if somebody has done this violent crime 3 times in a span of 5 years, you really don't think they're going to do it a 4th time? Are you that foolish? But that's how these district attorneys are. They're putting criminals back on the streets. And then you have cities like San Francisco where they are basically decriminalizing theft up to $950. I've seen so many videos of security guards just holding the door open because they're like, well, it's going to cost more money for us to fix the door if we try to lock them in. So we might as well just hold the door open while they walk out with $899 worth of goods. It's like, why are they making it so comfortable for these people? So I'm actually proud of Los Angeles that we got rid of George Gascon. He's who ruined San Francisco, and now he was ruining LA, to where you have crackheads running LA. You have people just destroying the city. There was this homeless man who sets the dumpster on fire behind my building every few weeks. Jeez. And I have called the police personally on him at least 5 times. And then he is just right back there setting the dumpster on fire again. What's his fascination with setting things on fire? I don't know, but I'm sick of it. But this is what's happening in LA. But we finally got rid of George Gascon. And I'm so happy to have Nathan Hawkman in.
That's why I left LA. George was not doing shit, right?
It's out of control. If anything, he's making it easier for these people to commit crimes. And back with Their Lives Mattered, something that really it was an off-the-record conversation. I had these detectives with me to make sure that we were safe while filming in the hood, because the trenches. But one thing that they told me that really, really bothered me is like, yeah, if you look online, it'll probably say that you have over 50% chance of getting away with murder in Chicago.
Whoa.
That already had me gasp. But they're like, but the real number, if you're talking about just like minimal jail time, it's closer to 90%.
What?
I'm like, what? And then it made sense to me because Happy Greg told me the guy who killed her 4-year-old son shot him in the face for no reason. They have it on video. They have eyewitnesses. Mm-hmm. They know who he was trying to kill. They have the motive. They have the license plate. And the guy who shot her son tried to kill someone in the county over. But because of some loophole, because of COVID, it was the same, like, they can trace like the bullets and like the frag shells or whatever. Same bullets, same clip. They were able to identify literally the same clip. Nothing.
Really?
They brought him in, said, "Did you do this?" He goes, "Nah," let him go.
What?
Yes. And that man is still as free as a bird.
That's a lot of evidence.
A lot of evidence. But basically, until that person comes forward and says, "Yes, I did it," they're not going to prosecute him.
What?
So essentially, they're sitting on all this evidence and waiting for them to get a DA that's going to be serious about prosecuting crime, because otherwise, they're just going to lose the case. And the bad part is she is not alone in that. There are so many people who have all this evidence of what is happening in these urban areas, and nothing is being done about it because it's more financially beneficial and profitable to pretend to fight an issue than to actually fight an issue. That's why there's so much homelessness in LA, because billions of dollars are being put towards homelessness. I think it's like $5 billion in the last couple of years have gone to try to fight homelessness in LA. But guess what? There's no solution being found because it's more profitable to these people to pretend to fight the issue than to actually fight it.
Wow.
So getting to like all this information, it was mind-blowing. So please go watch Their Lives Mattered. It's on PragerU.com. It's for free. And I hope you're moved by it. And what I want people to take away from it is you have to pay attention to what's happening in your community. You have to know who your DA is, and you have to stand on business and hold them accountable.
Yeah, we'll link it below. That's important, man. So these DAs, like, they need to be investigated, some of them.
A lot of them do. Because it's like, why are you allowing this? Why are you allowing this in your city? Why are you basically promoting for these crimes to continue happening? And same thing, an adjacent issue with the homelessness. I heard that and I haven't looked into this deep enough myself yet, but someone was just telling me this a week ago, that there was finally an audit for the very first time in all these years of what's happening in LA and with the homelessness, and they were spending like up to $500 on one screw. Like, that money is being so ridiculously embezzled, and people are just comfortable allowing that to happen. It's like there has to be someone to go in and crack down on all of this because it is out of control.
$500 on one screw.
$500 on one screw, $100,000 for a bed, sometimes $700,000 for a bed. It's like, these people aren't Nicki Minaj. They don't need to sleep on a $700,000 bed. Let's be so for real. It's just so sad.
Nicki Minaj is getting blackballed there now.
Nicki Minaj, I would defend that woman like I'm on her payroll. That woman is being blackballed so bad because okay, you're gonna think I'm crazy for this.
Yeah.
But hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. Nicki Minaj is the reason I started hearing out Trump.
No way.
And the reason is because I have been a Nicki Minaj fan since 2004. I'm not kidding. Since before she was even fully committed to be a rapper. Whole long story there. But I've been a fan of her for so long. And around 2017, the industry went on this whole, and really was happening before that, but they went on this huge campaign of trying to blackball her. And I wondered why. It was because she exposed the streaming services. The reason that all these rappers are becoming rich is because Nicki Minaj fought for them to have streaming rights. She's been exposing the pedophilia and all the just disgusting swamp behaviors that are happening in Hollywood. She's been exposing how fraudulent Billboard is, how fraudulent the radio is. And because of that, there's been this massive campaign to try to destroy her career. They paid Cardi B an insane amount of money to make a fake beef with her.
Oh, that was fake?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. On her end, well, yeah, because Nicki Minaj was nothing but gracious to her. Nicki collabed with her, shouted her out, was her biggest cheerleader. But there was this huge campaign to try to replace Nicki with Cardi B, having Remy Ma go write this diss track that they all had their hands in to try to tear down Nicki. There was all this happening to tear her down. Why? Because she was draining the swamp. Because she was calling out the Grammys. She exposed the Grammys multiple times. All of these different massive players in the Hollywood space is essentially the equivalent of what's happening in politics, where you have big pharma, big tech, big gov, big food, all these different groups that are in cahoots. It's the same thing in Hollywood. And really, there's even a connection there, because you will really be blackpilled when you realize how one of the biggest budgets, if not the biggest, but one of the biggest budgets at the Pentagon is actually Hollywood propaganda.
Whoa.
It's billions of dollars go towards Hollywood propaganda. So when I say that people need to connect the dots between Hollywood and entertainment and politics, they always think that I'm crazy or just being extra. It's like, no, it's really that deep. So when I started looking into Nicki Minaj's situation, around that same time, I'm like, this is making me question everything. This is, mind you, while I was still woke. I was still woke as hell in 2017 and 2018. But watching this happen to Nicki, it started making me look at everything. It's like, when the media tells me to hate somebody, there's probably a reason to it. So with Donald Trump, I started being like, is he actually racist? Is he actually that bad of a person? So I started looking into him and looking at all these articles that I would send to people when I was trying to prove that he was racist. And I realized, I'm like, some of these are literally satire. I was so embarrassed about my own self. I'm like, I didn't even check these sources. The source to that source is itself. And if you're sourcing yourself as your own source, it's like you're probably just making something up. I could never find the videos of him doing these terrible things, just like I could never find the comments of Nicki Minaj allegedly attacking Cardi B's child. That never happened. Just like all the things that they claim Trump said and did, those never happened or were taken wildly out of context.
Yeah.
So I started being like, damn, maybe Trump isn't that bad. So I was marching for BLM and still thinking low key to myself, I'm like, I might end up voting for Trump.
Holy crap.
So that's how the whole connection got put together for me. But yeah, Nicki Minaj getting blackballed, 100% is because she drains the swamp. And that's exactly what happened to Trump. But just like Trump finally had his grand victory, Nicki Minaj is still winning.
Yeah, I hope she comes back.
My whole brand is winning right now.
Let's go, baby. So what happened at the Grammys? So was it rigged or something?
Oh, they just completely blackballed her for years and years and years. This year, she had... So just to put into context, every single female rapper that has dropped an album this year, because they always wait for Nicki to drop first, not a single one of them has been able to surpass, I think, 80K in first week sales. Nicki Minaj did 228K, and that's after they filtered out a bunch of her sales. They blackballed her from the Grammys. They told her that they tried to downplay the fact that her tour, I think, is the third highest grossing rap tour of all time.
Wow.
It's like all these accomplishments she did. Every other award show is showering her in awards, but then the Grammys just completely didn't give her a single nomination. It's like, come on now. We all know the tricks that the Grammys play. That's like The Weeknd a few years ago. They were so mad at him because he chose to do the Super Bowl and not the Grammys performance, because for some reason, I guess you can't do both in that situation. The Weeknd had an unbelievably record-breaking year. Blinding Lights was in the Billboard top 10 for over a year. That's something that no one's even been close to doing, and not to get a single nomination. It's like the Grammys is just, it's a massive scam.
Yeah, it seems like whoever pays the most is going to win, right?
Exactly. It's like you have to do all the favors. You have to send them all the gift baskets and go do all these tours, like press tours and stuff for them. And Nicki Minaj isn't kissing enough ass, so they're not going to give her a Grammy. But it's like, how has she not had a Grammy after keeping her foot on the neck of the industry for 15 years? All these hits that Nicki Minaj has, not a single Grammy. It's like, come on now.
Crazy. I can't believe the Pentagon's funding this propaganda. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Like their film budget alone is billions of dollars. Oh, yeah. The Pentagon is all in favor of pushing forward all of this mess. That's why pretty much every single three-letter agency needs to be investigated with swiftness. And that's why they're so terrified of Donald Trump being in office now, because he's about to go through and crack down on everybody. Because it is out of control. The FBI is out of control. The CIA is out of control. OSHA, I know there's 4 letters, but they're out of control.
IRS.
Don't even get me started. Let me not beef with them this close to tax season. but all of them need to be investigated.
Yeah.
It's a madhouse what's happening over in DC. So all of these swamps need to be drained in Hollywood and in politics.
Absolutely. Same with the health ones, like FDA, USDA too.
Oh yeah, the FDA is out of control. The things that they approve, crumble cookies alone. I have a beef with crumble cookies because it ruined my metabolism.
Really?
I had a phase where I was borderline addicted to crumble cookies, and I never in my life had to work out abs or worry about getting fat. And then it completely wiped my metabolism strength. And I am about 7 months now sober of crumble cookies. Thank you very much.
They taste damn good, but there's like 1,000 calories in those.
Yeah, and I did a video on that. I was like, I know damn well this one cookie doesn't have 1,000 calories. Like, this is why America is getting big backed. And I've been wronged by a lot of fat people. So I take it very personally. Yeah. I feel like when people lose control of their body and their health, they lose control of their mind.
100%.
And shout out to my friend Max Lucavera. I went to his film learning about the impact of sugar. I did not know that dementia and Alzheimer's is largely caused by excess sugar intake.
Yep.
I thought it was just genetic. And you develop it 20 years before you show symptoms. So by the time you're showing symptoms, it's like, oh, you're doomed. But it's like all this sugar, that's why we're having this huge spike and all these people having it.
Yeah, they say dementia and Alzheimer's is actually type 3 diabetes now.
Oh, wow.
That's what they're calling it.
I did not hear that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, all the sugar intake.
It makes absolute sense. And it's like that gets approved, but there's like raw juice can't be approved. You know, the FDA won't approve raw juice.
Really?
And there's a whole list of things that are actually really healthy for you that the FDA won't approve, and how hard it is to get the health, just like holistic healthcare. I only know of one insurance company that does holistic healthcare. It's America First Healthcare.
Wow.
Shout out to them. They're the only insurance company that I know that truly is dedicated to holistic healthcare. It is so hard to try to to be healthy in America, and that's out of control.
Yeah, insurance is like $800 a month if you're not working for a company.
It is. It's so bad. And it's like it's because it's profitable. Again, you have to trace the money. It's profitable for us to be unhealthy because big food is making all this money by making us addicted to things that are unhealthy. And once we're unhealthy, who steps in to try to help us out? Big Pharma, because Big Pharma likes to over-medicate us. And then when we're constantly giving them all this money, then it's benefiting big government because as we saw with Pfizer and everything that happened there, big government is very connected with big pharma. And if you see the back and forth between like the FDA and Pfizer and all these different groups and how all their executives are just like playing ring around the rosy with their positions, it's like, oh, it makes so much sense now. Yep. It is beneficial for us to all be big backed and unhealthy and have diabetes.
Absolutely. I heard big pharma, they all got together last week and had an emergency meeting.
Really?
Because of RFK coming at them, yeah.
Oh, I believe it. RFK probably has them clutching their pearls because he's coming back with a vengeance. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. That endorsement, watching that happen was amazing. Seeing RFK and Donald Trump standing side by side, like that picture to this day gives me chills because I know what that's going to do for our country. Our country is finally going to be on the course of turning around, but it's going to be a fight.
It is.
And I'm here for the long run.
Yeah, they won't make it easy, but I think the future's bright, man. I mean, Trump's cabinet's looking really nice.
It is. It absolutely is. And, you know, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to see every single appointment because I know this time he learned his lesson. You know, when he first came around in 2016, I don't think Trump knew what to expect.
Yep.
I think he was overwhelmed by everything because it's like knowing who to trust, knowing who to have as your right-hand man, knowing who to have on your side, who he's picking as VP, all these different things that are going on. It's too much to handle on top of already what he was trying to fix.
Right.
So he had all these people who were stabbing him in the back because you have to be careful when you're that high level because there's some people in your circle who are speaking against your future more often than not. And Donald Trump, I don't think he fully was prepared for that. So they all came and attacked him. Now he has had 8 years to prepare for this. Oh, just know every single person he chooses them with a very specific purpose, with a very thorough fine-tooth comb of vetting. So I know it's going to be better this time.
100%. Yeah, you got to hire 10,000 people when you get in office. Crazy.
You do.
Yeah, he made a statement that Nikki Haley's not coming back, right?
Oh, he was very clear about that. I was like, oh, I was like, Nikki, get off the floor.
Yeah, people were happy with that one I saw.
Yeah, you know, I go back and forth about Nikki. I respect Nikki Haley. I think there are some aspects of what she stands for that I really stand behind. Like, you know, I don't play about Israel.
Yeah.
In fact, like I just dropped my whole merch line where I hope you don't mind me doing a little shameless plug. Shout out to my Walk With Me merch. 18% of my profits are going to bringing psychiatric care to children affected by October 7th.
Wow.
So Nikki standing with Israel, Nikki being, you know, I want a strong president. I really do feel like she would have been the strongest female candidate that we've probably ever seen get to that high of a level as far as running for presidency. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that she stands for that I think are hypocritical to her own message. And then her whole thing about just like wanting to crack down on social media and make it a little too, I don't know. She was just getting a little too authoritarian for me in some capacities. It's like, I feel like she was overcompensating, trying to be that forceful by being like, oh, you need to put your ID and all this into social media. It's like, oh, hell no. You're not about to expose my burner accounts.
Hell no. Yeah. No ID for me unless you're voting in those states.
Right. Honestly.
All the states she won. Did you see that graph?
Kamala?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much every single one that she won had no ID requirement or no photo ID requirement. I think there were 2 that did require ID, but they're like
New Hampshire.
2 electoral votes. It's like it was irrelevant basically to her grand cause. But yeah, no shock to me.
Crazy.
No shock to me whatsoever.
That makes you think if those states required it, like how many states would she actually have won?
Right.
Crazy.
Because I am so sick of illegal immigration. And it's so funny because it's like the left hates on me for that issue. They're like, oh, you're so far right when it comes to the border. Then I have the far right. They absolutely hate me because they say I'm too liberal. So it's like I'm getting dragged from both sides. But one thing that if people try to say that I'm far right on about when it comes to the border, I'll take the allegations. I'm never going to beat those allegations. I will get a shovel and build the wall myself. I am so pro mass deportation. I am ready to kick illegal immigrants out of this country. And I'm not trying to separate families. Your family doesn't have to be separated because you can leave with them. I'm at that point because let's be so for real. The people who are coming to our country illegally, it's like that is so disrespectful to all the immigrants who came here through the due process. The people who learned English, learned American values, worked their asses off to be able to afford to come here legally. And now you're coming over here, bringing your drugs, bringing your crime, all the human trafficking that's happening at our border. Like you have to an extent, even separate these kids from the parents because a lot of the times these kids don't even know who these men are that are bringing them. Yep. But they're being paid tens of thousands of dollars to traffic these kids over, if not millions a piece.
Crazy.
It's out of control. And when you see videos and documentaries of what's actually happening at the border, it is wild. It is absolutely wild. You'll even see illegal immigrants there asking to be brought in by Border Patrol because they know they're brought in. They go through a couple of process, sign a couple of documents, lie about your name, and boom, they're going to drop you off in some safe haven city.
With a phone and some money.
With the phone and everything. And I'm really passionate about getting fentanyl out of our country. And a lot of people, and the thing is, before I even get into the fentanyl thing, a lot of people constantly blame Mexico. In the beginning, I think a lot of it was Mexico's fault, but really, I feel like Mexico is also a huge victim of the illegal immigration that's happening because most of the people at this border aren't even from Mexico.
Really?
And it's so many people from South America, from Central America, from Haiti. They're swimming over here. Like all these different people are going through Mexico, destroying Mexico along the way, and in cahoots with the Mexican cartel, who their own government is afraid of the Mexican cartel. Right. It's like they're destroying Mexico on the way to our border.
Wow.
So no, and that's why my eldest brother won't talk to me because his kids are half Mexican. He's like, you have an issue with my kids? I'm like, I love my niece and nephews. I'll spoil them to this day. And it's like for you, and it's like, and they were born in Central Illinois. They were born in Bloomington, Illinois, in the cornfields. It's like this doesn't even apply to them. So it's like when you look at illegal immigration and everything that's coming over, that is terrifying. But I really am looking at China. And I'm saying this as a 2% Chinese man. So no, I'm not being anti-Chinese people. I'm anti-CCP. Because people don't know that we are already in a silent war with China. China's whole, if you do some, I'm reading this book right now called Blood Money. And I'm only a few chapters in. And I'm already blown away. Just learning the pathway of how China is making the chemicals to create fentanyl, making the counterfeit pills, making the drugs that are laced with it, doing all of that. Then they are also bringing it to the Mexican cartel, paying the Mexican cartel to bring all this fentanyl into the United States and then distributing it. And then they're also providing the Mexican cartel with the communication devices to go under the radar. Then they're paying some of these progressive politicians to basically have hush money to not say anything about all of this going on because they know that it's going on.
Wow.
And people really underestimate two things about fentanyl. One, how many people it's killing. You know, we lose more military-age men every single year to fentanyl, every single year, than the Iraq War, the Afghan War, the Vietnam War, and a couple other wars combined.
Damn.
Combined every single year. And people think that, if you're not, snorting lines, then you're not going to end up dying of fentanyl. Oh, no. Do you know how Prince died?
Prince, no.
Prince died from fentanyl. And
Really?
for years, I thought that was so strange. Why is Prince doing fentanyl? I looked into it recently. I'm like, oh, he had a counterfeit Tylenol. which is a whole nother discussion. I'm pretty sure somebody killed him because Prince makes too much money to get some off-brand Tylenol from a bodega. So it's like, I start asking the questions of, one, why did they kill him? But two, how did this get into his Tylenol? How do you take a Tylenol or people dying in college from Adderall? When you hear someone dies of fentanyl, ask what the fentanyl was with, because they're putting it in aspirin, they're putting it in Tylenol, Adderall, on top of all the party drugs. So it's not just these kids who are out here partying that are dying of fentanyl. They're dying from just having a headache.
Wow.
That is how out of control it's gotten, but nobody really wants to talk about it. But I will. Trust me, I will, because I'm sick of seeing people in our age range dying of this.
Scary.
And if you look at China and their whole war tactic, because the names are beyond me right now, but if you go and you look into it, like there's this guy that they view as like their founding father of war strategy now. And his whole thing was war by deception. And the goal of China is to win wars without firing a single bullet.
Wow.
And that's what they're doing. Between, you know, the flu's niece is what I'll call it for censorship purposes. The flu's niece that came from that lab, between that and fentanyl and TikTok demoralizing our society and just making us all be so in favor of destroying our own bodies and mutilating our own bodies. All of that is coming directly from China. They are destroying us, and China knows what they're doing. We are in a silent war with China, and they have not fired a single bullet. But you know they've been salivating at Taiwan, and you know that they want to be the major power again. So that's why they're creating these wars that we have here in America. And they know this because they have experienced part of why China fell as the world power is because the opioid crisis that they got, that they blame the British for, and they blame all of Western society for why they had an opioid crisis years ago that demoralized the Chinese men. So they are trying to make this grand comeback, and to do that, they have to take out America.
Wow.
Oh, it gets deep.
I did not know all this. That's fascinating.
And all the receipts are in my favor, so don't even try to call me a conspiracy theorist.
This makes sense, though. There's a book called The Art of the War, and they talk about this stuff. It's by a Chinese person, Sun Tzu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they probably banned him from the country for spilling their own tea.
Probably. Damn, this is crazy. So you really think China doesn't like us like that?
Oh, yeah. China hates us. And more than just hating us, they just want to be the world power. They want to have that status back because nobody wants to be second place. Nobody even looks good in silver more often than not. They don't want that. They want to be the world power. But you know who else does? Russia. Russia wants to be the world power.
And they're allies, right?
Yeah, and they've become allies because the enemy of your enemy is your friend. So they want to be the world power. They both want to see America fall. Then you have the collective Middle East who hates Israel. And the reason that they hate Israel, there's so many reasons why they hate Israel, because they're just, one, anti-Semitic, two, they want the Holy Land, three, yada, yada, yada. There's so many reasons. But if there's one thing that the Middle East can come together and be in cahoots on, is they want to take out Israel because they know that's our most consequential, necessary ally. So they want to take them out. And then if the Middle East, led by Iran and Qatar, are able to take out Israel, then the Middle East, Russia, and China, they're on our ass in World War III.
Wow.
But luckily, we have Trump here, so they're scared again.
You have faith that Trump can end these wars like he says he's going to?
I think he can, at the very least, keep it from happening anytime soon. I think, when it comes to the Israel-Palestinian conflict, that's going to happen to the end of time. That's just biblical at this point. They've been fighting since the David and Goliath days. Like, literally, because Goliath was a Philistine, which is basically a Palestinian now, and David was Jewish.
Dang.
So it's like, it goes back that far. So I really don't think that conflict is ever going to be calm, but they can at least try to get a ceasefire. I do think Trump is going to go over there and put his foot on Hamas's neck and, take them out for a bit. I think we can resolve what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, which I'm on neither side when it comes to Ukraine versus Russia. I do think America overstepped our boundaries because we had no business putting weapons on that border. We really shouldn't have even brought Ukraine into NATO, but that's just my opinion. And then with China, I don't think China is going to bust a grape with Trump in office, but I do need Trump to fight against this silent war that we're already in. I do need Trump to start cracking down on fentanyl, start exposing the fact that China is funding the Mexican cartel to bring all this fentanyl here. I need him to really get on that.
Well, he just declared the cartels as a terrorist organization.
As he should.
So that's a good first step.
Absolutely. And if I know this information, I know he knows way more than I do. So him doing that was the necessary first step that you have to declare. You have to put them in a certain category so that we can start taking action.
Right.
Because everything is so diplomatic and there's always a long process. And by declaring them a terrorist organization, that was the first big step.
Absolutely.
That is my president. I love Donald Jaquan Trump.
Yeah, he moves quick. That's why I like him too. Everything he said he was going to do, he's already starting before he's even president.
Exactly.
When that ICE director spoke to us at Heritage, he said he was going to do that like a month ago.
Because Trump is standing on business. We are tired. Our country is amazing. We truly are the greatest country on earth. Do we have our flaws? Absolutely. Absolutely. America gets ghetto as hell sometimes, but we are the beacon of light on this planet, and we need to be strong again. So when it comes to Make America Great Again, it's like, it's not just some cornball phrase. It's like, we need to turn our country around for the sake of the rest of the world, because we are the leader for a reason.
Absolutely. Do you want this TikTok ban to go through?
No.
You don't?
No. Because I think that whole bill is a facade. Because they're all of a sudden you have all this issue with data. First of all the data that they want on us, they pretty much already have. Let's be so for real. That's like when people criticize me for being on TikTok. I'm like, what does China not already have that they want from me? My iPhone already pretty much has everything on me that there is to have. It's like, I have nothing to hide, so I really don't care. But when you see, I'm not going to lie, when you see the left and the right being immediately on the same page about something as quickly as they were on that China ban, or not China ban, that TikTok ban, there's something else going on there.
Right.
And when you squint and really think about it, it just does not make sense. The whole forced sale thing. I do think that there are some accountability things that need to happen to TikTok. Like, they need to be more transparent about their privacy policies. They need to be more transparent about their algorithm and the way that they push such craziness to our audience here in America. But then to have TikTok actually banned already in China and they have their own alternative to it, like, that's very suspicious to me.
It's banned in China?
Oh yeah, it's called like DuYoung. It's like the version of it. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah, in TikTok they have a whole different version of TikTok. It's called DuYoung. It's like a whole different app because American TikTok is too degenerate. It says it's basically brain rot, and they identify it as that in China. Oh yeah,
that's crazy because it started in China, didn't it?
It did.
We got so degenerate that they banned their own app.
I think they had it banned since the beginning.
Oh, what?
It was always for the intention. Ever since it was like converted from Musical.ly or whatever, it's always been with the intention of demoralizing our society, making people with no talent, no substance, and nothing to offer society, making them these megastars. No shade. Some of these people who have these massive, unbelievable platforms have no value to add. If anything, they're just adding the opposite. They're just regressing our youth, making us more unintelligent, getting us to focus on things that are irrelevant. Like, the fact that we are so focused on social issues is largely because of TikTok. And what people are so unaware of is if you're that focused on social issues, you're inherently privileged. Because if you think that people are supposed to be more concerned about your gender identity than putting food on the table and feeding their children, then you're narcissistic and delusional. And TikTok is putting that into people's brains. Because why on earth if I am a father who is struggling to feed my family and keep my family safe, why am I supposed to be more concerned with Rebecca's ability to get an abortion in Alabama?
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I am legislatively pro-choice. I'm ideologically pro-life, which is a concept that people don't understand for some reason, but I think it just makes sense. But and Trump's not even banning abortion anyway, so let me not even have people try to take me out of context on that. Don't even try it, because I'll drag y'all in the comments. But all that to say, it's like the issues that are socially related, why would I care more about that than my ability to protect and provide for my own family?
Right.
It's just crazy. We're not focusing on the things that actually matter. We're not focusing on the fact that we're so close to World War III. Instead, we're talking about people's pronouns.
Right.
It's like, why? For what reason?
Yeah, there's much more important things to talk about, right? Like the economy, gas prices, and everything.
Yeah, eggs.
Yeah.
Why am I paying $12 for eggs?
I know. If you want the pasture raised, it's like $12, right?
Literally.
I'm not eating those weird normal eggs, whatever they're called.
They don't even look right when you crack them.
I mean, they're injecting whatever like in those animals. You know, chickens live 6 weeks now.
What?
Yeah, when you see those rotisserie chickens at like Costco and stuff, those are 6 to 8 weeks old. They're being injected so much.
Oh, every day we stray further from Christ.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's hard to even trust grocery stores these days. That's where we're at right now.
And that's why everybody, like, they make fun of me. They're like, oh, you shop at Air One. You're just doing that to be bougie. It's like, no, I just don't want cancer. I literally just don't want my leg to fall off at some point in my life. It's like, I'm willing to spend the extra money in order to protect my health. Because if you lose your health and you lose your mind, you lose everything.
Yep.
It's like I would rather have a little less money in my bank account and be able to live longer. But it's like I have the privilege of doing that because I worked my ass off and got my own black privilege.
Yes, sir.
So it's like I am going to Air One because I know that the food is going to be safer and cleaner there. If you go to Walmart to get your groceries, you know you're going to end up with some kind of, well, I shouldn't say you know you're going to, but you have a much higher likelihood of developing cancer and all these mystery diseases that are coming along.
100%. I just got a Pronuvo scan. Have you looked into those?
I have not. What's
Pronuvo. It's like a MRI. Yeah, detects disease early.
I need to do that.
Yeah,
there's like a
LA,
whole
actually.
list of things I'm going to start doing, like just a test of what am I allergic to now, because and it's crazy, the healthier I have gotten, the more intolerant I am to so many different foods. It's like my stomach is always fighting for its life now. It takes one seed oil to ruin my whole day now. Like it's out of control because I eat healthy now and eating the things that my body was actually programmed to eat in the first place. So now it's like I go and eat a bag of pizza rolls like I used to. It's like I am doomed for at least 72 hours.
Damn.
And it makes you realize how unhealthy was this stuff. As a child, Pop-Tarts had me in a chokehold. I was a fiend for Pop-Tarts. Then you learn how Pop-Tarts are banned in so many other countries because of how bad they are for you. Or if you look at a comparison of like Quaker Oats or Heinz ketchup or even just ramen noodles, all Oreos, especially Oreos, if you compare them, what we have here in the States, to either one, what they had 30 years ago as the ingredients, or two, especially if you look at what they have overseas, they're so much healthier. The versions of these foods are 10 times healthier overseas than what they are here in America. And there's a reason for that. It's again because they want us to be sick. They want us to be dependent on the government.
Yep. And they teach you breakfast is the most important meal while they feed you these sugary cereals and
Right.
Pop-Tarts and stuff.
Right. When people ask me like the best way to stay in shape and not end up being too big backed, it's like check your added sugars. You look at a bowl of Captain Crunch, how much added sugars in that, just them dumping grams and like cups of sugar into your food, that's out of control.
Yep.
There is no reason for that. And then people become more dependent on coffee because they have these sugar rushes and then they crash because your body can't handle all this sugar. So now what do you need? You need a sugary coffee from Starbucks that pump you back up and to get you going again in your day. It's like I don't eat like shit in the beginning of the day, so I don't need coffee to be dependent on every single day.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so bad.
Yeah. Well, dude, what's next for you? Any documentaries you're working on?
So I have a couple ideas for documentaries. Don't want to say that just yet because we're going to figure out which one. But I'm working on getting a live show over at PragerU. So did a few test shoots for that. So hopefully I'll have that by next time I see you. I'm also working on a show called Spin House. That's the working title. I actually filmed a pilot to that because, you know, I'm all for trying to blend pop culture and politics. And I'm trying to build this show where I'm showcasing the world of what it's like being a political influencer, going from DC to the inauguration to a party with celebrities and influencers in LA, like showing that world that we're not hated behind the scenes. It actually is cool behind the scenes, but also just the hell we go through and just like the amount of hatred and death threats that you go through being a political influencer. It's going to show that whole world. We have a few networks we're talking to about it right now. It's got my friends Emily Saves America, Lou Holly, Clarkson Lawson, Amber Rose is a friend of the show, and a few other special guests. So that's my huge goal for 2025 is to get that on a mainstream network near you.
Love it. We'll link your X account and Instagram below. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Check this stuff out. See you next time.